Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Startup Night 2020, all you beautiful people out there on the screens. My name is Fabian, and I'll be hosting the 8th Startup Night with you today for the next 3 hours. 8 years, that's 8 years of growing, developing, learning, adjusting, and we've seen lots of startups, we've seen lots of events, lots of locations, lots of partners, new partners joining every year, and some made it from partners to friends. So those things haven't changed, and we have made Startup Night one of the most well-established startup events in the event calendar in Berlin, and also made it visible on the political agenda in the last couple of years. So we told ourselves that we are never an event only for the ecosystem, but open for everyone. And especially, we see ourselves as a door opener for startups. That's why many big startup events have been canceled this year. We decided not to do that. We decided to pull through despite Corona, not because we wanted to see our logo on your screens or in the news, but because we see ourselves as an institution that has a responsibility towards the startup ecosystem. So we're here to help startups navigating those crazy times. And just like you and they, we have to adapt as well. So there's many first times for us this year, not just the location, which is not the Hauptstadtrepräsentanz of Deutsche Telecom anymore, but most importantly, that we're a fully digital event for the first time in the history. Well, everything's digital except for me. I'm real, and I hope to stay that way. And so for the first time, Startup Night is also not a night event anymore. It's a day event. And unfortunately, we're not filling an entire night, but just your lunchtime. So perfect time to just sit back, relax, take a drink, your lunch, and relax. But most importantly, there are no startups. There's no exhibition. And this is actually the saddest part of it, because for talking about me, I loved browsing through the LAs full of innovative ideas, inspiring people, and just soaking the spirit in. But, well, things change, and so for me also, standing here talking to you through a lens is a very different experience. I can't see you, but I still hope to not bore you anyways. And let's continue. While lots of things have changed, there are still things that haven't changed, because we told ourselves that we wanted to stay true to our core, meaning there's a great conference program with lots of speakers and keynotes and talks from the ecosystem for startups, from startups for startups. And so while lots of things are happening right here on this stage, there's also many things going on off the stage. So we will have lots of breakout sessions in rooms that you can find through our website, startupnight.net. And of course, as always, as every year, since the very beginning, there's an amazing team that put this whole thing together, that still makes it happen. And since things have not changed a lot, I'm here as well. And most importantly, let's welcome the motor, the engine of Startup Night. Feel free to clap in front of your screens, even though we don't hear it. It makes you feel as if you're here. Welcome with me, Cem Ergin Müller. Morning, Cem. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. I'm excited. I'm sad, but excited.
Sad, but why?
Well, sad because we could not have our exhibition, right? And this is why we have been discussing since May how we should do that. And we've been looking at many conferences and tried to learn as much as we could from other formats. We tried, to prolong in this so until we could maybe really have one, but now it even got worse. So what we pulled off here right now is actually, I think, in these times, the best the ecosystem can present.
Well, we're looking forward to this day together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cem, the motto of this year's Startup Night is here to help. Can you maybe just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. Well, as you said earlier, that tons of events have been cancelled. In Berlin, even outside of Berlin, they try to do some digital events, but nothing out there really to help the ecosystem. And for me, the ecosystem here who needs help are the startups. So it does not matter if you're early stage or maybe a little bit of later stage, but you need access to money. You still need access to VCs, maybe to even recruits. But this is what can't happen at the moment, right? So we gathered our friends and family and partners and investors we found over the years, and they're all here today. They're online. They're in different channels, in sessions, or here on stage. And for us, this is how we want to contribute, because we just did not want to disappear.
Yeah. So first time in history as a digital event, how is that for you? Like, how do you see that? What were obstacles?
Actually, the interaction piece, that is really, really hard. So for me, it is always very beneficial when you get feedback out of the crowd, right? When they clap, when they applaud, or you see in their faces that they agree to what you say, or they say like, oh, I hear that for the first time. And you don't hear that, right? You don't get the feedback. And for speakers, this is what the feedback I got, is it's very ungrateful that they don't get any feedback at all, right? And they're trying to contribute with good content. So I would ask anyone, send kudos in the chat, and if you liked it, let them know. If you ask questions, ask that, of course, but also like show appreciation for everyone who's there.
That's a good thing. So digital also means we're using a tool. Is this like Zoom or YouTube? What are we doing here?
Oh yeah, that was like one of the biggest tasks we had, right? We looked at tons of tools out there which support digital conferences, and there are many, and we decided to use Hop-in, because Hop-in is actually what the name says. If you have tons of content, that you can hop in from one session to the other. So the idea is indeed just like a real conference. If you maybe don't like what you see, or you have heard it before, you hop to another session. And what you can do here is just the same, right? You can, hop in one session, you like it, you stay, and if you don't like it, you go to the next one. Take out as much as you can from the whole program.
Just like in a real conference.
Just like in a real conference.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So there was one thing that you mentioned to me before. You have a survey going on at the moment. Can you just quickly...
Yeah. So we have been approached by the politics side that they are aware that the help for startups is, let's say, it could be better, And what we are trying to do, and this is why we send out survey to all of you participants, startups, etc., that we have a survey out, and it's just a 2-minute questionnaire. Please fill it out. It's in any email you are receiving at the moment. Click it, go. It's really fast, and then we'll try to help you even on the political side.
Great. Do you have any last words for our audience?
It's again, enjoy the show, stay there, and continue asking questions. This is for you. Learn, ask the people who are holding a session, and enjoy the noon break, the long noon break you have here at the moment. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Jem.
Yep.
I'll see you later in 2.5 hours.
You will,
for our wrap up, and we continue. Let's have a look at our agenda for today. So what are we going to see? We will start at 11:15 with a talk round presented to you by the Investitionsbank Berlin on the topic of public funding meets VC investment. We'll follow on at 11:45 with the new generation of female founders presented by W-Launch and Pitango Venture Capital. Later on at 12:15, we'll learn on how to network like a pro from an actual ecosystem legend with multiple thousands of networking contacts. So exciting topic. At 12:45, let's take a tech deep dive together and listen to what Hubraum has to tell us about developer relations and APIs for startups. Later at 1:15, and our last topic for the day, a super interesting topic actually for all founders-to-be, and investors alike, personnel due diligence, or how to reduce your investment risk by up to 20%, presented to you by Celarestos. And last but not least, as the last part of the Startup Night 2020, our wrap-up as every year, Jem will join me back here on stage, and we'll take a look at what happened. So you see, it's a pretty tight schedule we're having ahead of us, but as I told you, there's more. What is more? Actually, 17 sessions on all kinds of different topics that you can hop in through our software. They're powered by some of our long-term partners, some of our new partners, and also people from the ecosystem, like, for example, Christoph Redke. And as I said, just take a look at our website, startupnight.net, and find whatever room fits best for you. So, but even more, there's even more, and that is for the people that signed up beforehand. We're offering private investor sessions as well as private mentoring sessions presented by W Launch. So you see, we got a lot ahead of us, a big schedule, and with that said, I will just shut up, leave the stage, and see you back at 11:15 with our first event of the day, the Public Funding Meets Venture Capital Investment. Thank you. Welcome back. We're ready to start with our planned program. I hope you're comfortably seated in front of your computer, on your couch, in your office, anywhere really. Let's go. And just for you to know, a couple of rules up front. So our sessions will last for 20 minutes. We'll have a 5-minute Q&A and afterwards a 5-minute transition times to just rebuild, set up everything, clean the microphones, and then get ready to start again. So with that said, let's start with session number 1. Public funding meets VC investment. And we're jumping right in with a long-term partner of Startup Night. They are not even a partner, but a friend of the family of Startup Night. According to Crunchbase, in Berlin, we have 131 VCs with their headquarters situated here in this town. But most of them are private. And most of the private ones are popping out like mushrooms everywhere. So if you're a startup, you probably know it's really hard to figure out which one to turn to. But at the same time, the Investmentbank Berlin was at the forefront of public funding, and they're the biggest institutional venture capital giver in Germany at this point. So we'll hopefully hear today on how we can merge both models, the public as well as the private funding, and how it will look in the future. So with that said, I'll welcome on the stage 3 guests that will be having a little talk round about exactly this topic. Firstly, Björn Wolf, founder of Memoria, then Raik Reichenbach and Artyom Savarankan from the Investitionsbank Berlin. Please join me on stage. Happy to have you back. How are you feeling today?
Pretty good, thanks.
Pretty good?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Awesome. You're ready to talk about this topic? I have one question for you up front. Do you still remember as Investitionsbank Berlin on how many investments you've made in the last years?
It's a question for you.
I think it's a question for me. I'm Raik from IBB Ventures. We are a subsidiary of IBB. So IBB is doing a lot of grant and loan programs. We are the guys with the equity venture capital program. And we made more than 200 investments in our history in Berlin-based startups.
Wow, that's quite a lot. And you are always the sole investor, or do you share investments? How are you doing?
We are big fans of co-venturing, so we always invest together with others as a lead or a co-role, and we are quite flexible in that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you choose a nice topic today on how to merge or how to work together with public and private investments. Can you give me a quick rundown of what you're going to talk about today?
So in general, I will introduce our institution. The IBB is a business development bank, and how our function is in the market. And afterwards, I just want to introduce Björn as the head of Memoria company, which was already funded by one of our research and development programs, but also worked with Raik. So that's the main part then, the panel and the questions around all this.
Cool. Then I leave the stage to you, and then I encourage all of you people out there on the screens to ask your questions, because, as I said, we'll have a quick Q&A round afterwards, and those questions will be chosen and then asked to you guys, right? Cool. So, thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you too.
Enjoy you.
All right, let's start. I just want to have a short look on the IBB, and afterwards it's time for you to perform in the form of a panel. So what about the IBB? The IBB is the Business Development Bank of the Federal State of Berlin. So we have public bank, and we have certain tasks. One of them is the banking book, of course, but besides of it, our main function is to help the companies and to help the infrastructure to growth in Berlin, but also to develop the businesses. And herefore we have a lot of offers, but also instruments which should be helpful for startups, but also for established companies. In general, it's about consultancy. There are a lot of programs which should help you to start your business, to think about the business idea in itself, but also about how to finance it. We have a lot of grants. One of it is profit. Also, Björn used it. A big part of external capital, which means there are a lot of loans. We're a bank and we work as a bank, but we have also our subsidy, the IBB Ventures, and herefore I want to have a closer look with you on Raik's job, but also on one of the successful stories with Memoria. All right, so let's start and have a closer look on you both guys. First of all, Raik, Björn, I have a question for you.
Bring it on.
After you got the idea to start the business, which first steps did you take?
Very good question. I'd say the first ever steps that I did was I told my wife. I quit my job. I searched for a partner in crime. And I searched for the right idea. And not exactly in that order, probably. All right. So, and you had to do a lot of decisions. So which of these decisions, also to talk with your wife, for example, was the toughest one? Well, let's clarify this a little bit in two areas, like the before I started it and the afterwards. And probably the toughest decisions ever before you do it is the decision to do it. Because obviously it's always it implements so much into your life, right? So it's not having this security network which you probably had before in anywhere in a job, and then suddenly a security network is gone and you have to go for yourself. So that was like the hardest decision before. And afterwards, I'd say whenever you started a company and you're in the process of building up, the toughest decisions are always about people. So it's either which people do I hire and which are the right for the team and the right for conquer, or which ones do I have to let go. And then obviously then sometimes it's very hard decisions, and the ones which I personally hate the most.
All right. So you also visited a lot of startup fairs in front of your starting, also the Degut. But how took you notice of the IBB Ventures and of Reich?
Yeah, this had to come up, I guess. Degut is a fair which is for very, very small businesses, I'd say. And it was, I don't know, in the year 2015 when I was still searching for the right idea within these perfect decisions that you have to take at the beginning. And I visited Degut with no idea what I'm actually going to visit. And suddenly I passed by Reich, and that was the starting of like our being together for a very, very long time now, because we both probably were thinking, we're the two people here which don't really know what we're doing here.
All right, it sounds good. The legendary Reich. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for
Reich,
having me.
I just have first question. You've been long an investor for the IBB Ventures and working for the IBB. So, which are the points with the highest priority to close deals with startups from your point of view?
Okay, you're talking about deal closing. So before deal closing, there's a lot of things happening before. I think for a startup, it's important to choose the right investors. As you mentioned, it's always about people, and a little bit it's also about institutions. So choosing the right investors or the right kind of investors is strategic for a startup. So if an investor and a startup wants to go together and have a good fit, then it's talking about the deal. And yeah, this is a little bit difficult because the cultural problem there is that you have different interests. So the startup want to have other terms than the VC. It's quite natural. But in the end, I think it's important that no party is overstretching something, and that in the end there's an overlap, and you don't damage your relationship before it really starts. So because afterwards you have to work together a long time, and that's why it's important to have a good feeling with the deal on both sides.
All right, it means that the cooperation with Björn and with Memoria was quite easy at the beginning, and the deal closing process was also easy. Do I understand it right?
A little bit, because Björn and his partner were very hard negotiators. And it was a tough time, but
still are, I guess.
Yes, and on the other side, I was happy to see that they negotiate this way, because in their normal business, when we are on board afterwards, it's good to have founders that are very sensitive and able to have good negotiations with their business partners.
All right, nice. So Björn, why did you decide to work with Reich and with IBB Ventures?
Yeah, if it comes to institutional investors, it's like the reputation throughout the German states is probably always different, but I'd say nowhere as good as in Berlin. And I have to say I would always choose IBB Ventures again. Not to please Reich here, not at all. It's more really that, especially when you start up the startup, and when you're in this process where there's like tons of things which you have to do, and where you don't have answers to the right questions, there's always a partner at your side which is really a partner and helps you with a lot of it, and also has the right answers to questions which you were never facing before, because they simply had it so many times before.
Could you maybe give us one or two examples for it?
Yeah, for example, if it comes to any legal advice, or let's say something simple as an employee contract, it's like you have to have a really good legal force. So you can either go and spend a lot of money at any of the lawyers, or you go to IBB then, which is your partner, and say, what do you have? And they're like, wait a sec, here it is.
Great work, like.
It's part of our toolbox. I think this is the easy part. I think much more value brings kind of a discussion or a strategic sparring. Whatever.
Absolutely.
So this is the main focus.
Yeah, but also the small and simple things take a lot of time from you as a founder, which you shouldn't think about. And if you simply have it, that leaves you so much more time to the really important things.
All right, like another question for you. You have a lot of experience, but I think also for you, the Corona situation is quite new, maybe from a point of view, maybe from a personal point of view, but also from a point of view of an investor. So which main advice could you give to young startups, to young professionals who want to start up a business and to focus on VC financing?
I think the good news is that after the first lockdown in March, April, where the whole community was shocked and all the VCs had to analyze their portfolio impact of the crisis. Now things are going forward again. So investors like to invest again, of course, in startups that are healthy, in a healthy situation at the moment. I think travel, for example, is hard to finance at the moment, but a lot of digitization stuff or e-learning, for example, is good to have financing rounds now. I think it's much more important to have a kind of a social proof via your personal network, because it's harder to meet investors in person in events or at events like we met by coincidence.
Definitely.
Somehow. So coincidences are rare these days, and that's why I think it's important to have more social connection to a network that gives you intros to relevant investors.
All right. Thank you.
Do it. It's there's money in the market.
All right. So use the situation, even if it's a crisis, and try yourself out as a young professional. All right, Björn, I have a question for you about our research and development program, ProFit. It's a mixed program, which is a part of grants, but also a part of loan. You used it, you applied for it. Could you please mention some positive but also negative aspects about the whole process of this program?
Let's start with the not so positive ones, I'd say,
Yeah.
and go over to the positive ones. The not so positive ones are, it's obviously as bureaucratic as you might think it is. So it needs a lot of time on preparation and a lot of work on it. And if you plan a certain time frame, double it, and then you're right there what you really need. That's at least what I figured and what I learned. But it's worth the effort, and that's where it comes to the positive side. We could do things which we probably wouldn't be able to do if we wouldn't had that grant and loan, which you were saying, because we were working on very innovative stuff in the funeral market, which we probably wouldn't have if we wouldn't have it, just as of the fact that it hadn't had straight business impact, but it was an anchor or a way to go further into digitization of the funeral market. So for us, it was very positive, even if it brings a lot of work at the beginning, and it's not as speedy and maybe easy as you as a founder sometimes would love to have it.
All right. So, and how did you take these bureaucratical hurdles? Was it easy, or was it not that easy?
Well, yeah. Well, how did we take it? I probably would say we took it as it come. So we had to go sometimes across or around the walls that were suddenly there, and had to tackle them again. We also worked together with some professionals on it, Further Protech, which is a company who's working especially in that field, so they helped us quite a lot. But then we also had to go our own way, and you just have to start it, and you have to ongoingly go for it. So it takes a lot of your own time, more than you probably think at the beginning. But at one point in time, it was worth going for it.
All right. Like, from the point of view of an investor, what do you think about public funding in that case of profit, for example?
Yeah, it totally makes sense to take all the meals from, or take the best stuff of all the worlds they are out there, and as a leverage for equity financing round, I think loan programs like Profit are very welcome. Yeah, because you have the time because of you made an equity round to apply for it and to go through the process, and in the end, it's more money for research and development, and this is helpful, especially in the beginning. So I would always advise to do.
All right. So you mentioned the hedging for maybe for the next round, for the next VC round. What is the right time from your point of view to apply for such a program?
I would say after you did a financing round, just right after that. Also, even if your company bank account is quite saturated, you should do it.
All right, so that's a big instrument to hedge the finance round and to have a longer run rate till the next round.
Yeah, it's a great leverage. Yeah.
All right, thank you for this. All right, some closing words from your side, Björn. Do you have something to add about maybe IBB Ventures, or some advice from your point of view as a CEO who's working for years in that area?
Yeah, two of them probably. The first thing is my personal hope that we're still meeting in person again next year and don't have to do it digital. I'm more of a fan of a personal interaction with less than 1.50 meters in between of us. And the other thing is, if you're a young founder, if you're or at the beginning of a startup, it's always worth looking at IBB in my eyes, because they bring a lot of help which you don't see at the beginning. So just give it a shot, and Reich is a good person for it.
All right.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. From my point, it's over. We're done, and now we can take our last step to to let Fabian in.
Again. Thank you very much for this talk. Very interesting insights. We got a couple of questions from the audience, which I'd like to ask. I think the first one is also for you, Reich. The person is asking, I would like to know what the ROI, the profits of IBB were last year, for example.
So it's hard to talk about a single year's results, because our funds are structured that way that we get the money and have an appointment that we should give it back, better give more money back, after 10 years or 12 years. So we have a fund life cycle, and what we learned in our past, you can earn money with venture capital, so this is possible, but it takes a long time. So it takes actually longer than 10 years usually to give the fund with a return back to your fund investor. Mm-hmm. So we have a positive ROI, but it's not that high.
Okay. Thank you. And another question that came in, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on the criteria for participation, either in a IBB funding round and as well also in the profit program that you mentioned.
So maybe I start with the profit one. So in general, profit is a research and development program. So it's not only for startups that have an innovative business model but are operating with the usual algorithms, for example. We need more. So we need research, and we also need development, and we need a closed project. That means that it's not a company financing, that a project-based financing. You need to write a lot of things, also from the technological part, and to describe, although your CTO have to work a lot to describe which innovative stuff you have to develop and how the work packages look like, and you need a structured plan. So it's not that agile as you work maybe in real. You have to write a lot and to explain it, and then there are some mentors also who are looking on your technological descriptions and afterwards say in how far it's possible or not, and how the public support could look like. So it's not always only a big grant for you to start or to hedge your business. It's also a bigger part of a loan, which you have to pay back afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think for IBB Ventures as a VC, what is our profile? To frame that a little bit, we are quite sector agnostic, meaning we invest in a broad range of different industries. At the moment, we have around 80 portfolio companies that are on our website, and they are really very different. So life science, industrial, a lot of B2C, B2B, digital stuff. In the end, what is important? So we need to be convinced that it's a good investment. So we are an investor. So I think that's the easiest part of the answer.
Okay. And Björn, also a little bit about your experiences with IBB. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what went really, really well and why you would do it again?
And then what went really, really bad and why I wouldn't do it again. I think the so often said roller coaster which you have as a founder is obviously always the case. And we had very good and very bad times. No matter if it was a very high or a very low time, they were always at our side. And that's as good and easy as it can be. And that's actually, especially it's not the very high times, it's the very low times when you need a partner in crime.
No crime, obviously. Okay, well, if you guys want to leave something for the audience, feel free to just address one last sentence to the audience. A call for application or anything else?
Right. As you maybe mentioned, the IBB is also involved in a lot of support programs connected to the Corona support, and that's why the usual programs aren't running as usual. It means that the processes need more time. A lot of us are working on these programs, and there is small chaos in our institution caused by the situation as well, because we want to help the economy. So please don't be that hard with us if we question a little bit later than usual, all right?
And yeah.
Yeah, I want to mention our weekly office hours. It's always Friday, and you can be informed on LinkedIn, our company account, and there you have the opportunity to just get in touch with us in an informal way and just ask questions, get feedback.
Memoria is one of the greatest teams at the moment I've ever worked with. Thanks to all Memorians, but we still have some positions open. So if anyone wants to apply, memoria.de, go for it.
Great. So we got a couple of more questions left, but I'll ask you that afterwards, and also to the audience. So all your questions are here, and we have our experts and keynote speakers here to answer them for you afterwards. Yeah, because our time is running out, and we need to move on. So thank you very much, you three, for this interesting talk, for the questions and the answers. And have a great day, and we're happy to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And we're back. Welcome back at Startup Night 2020 for our second session of the day, on which we are touching a topic that is of major importance, not just in the VC industry. Did you know that we're living in the year 2020, and in venture capital firms, 75% of those firms do not have a female partner in their partner circle, which is a sad fact, not only because of the diversity issue, but most importantly, because that reduces the chances of female founders to get funding, because for some strange reasons, male founders are always preferred. Which is even more wondering because companies led by female founders produce twice the profits as their male counterparts. So looking at the numbers for Berlin only, 9% of companies founded in Berlin in the last years were led by female founders, which is way below the European average of 17%, for example. So it's obvious that change needs to happen, and I'm happy to welcome two ladies with me, one in a Zoom call and one on the stage here, that are going to tell us, hopefully, on how to make this change happen. So please join me on stage, founder of W Lounge, Mali M. Baum. Good morning, Mali. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Also, like conference without audience, but I feel the energy. So thank you so much for having me here.
Which is great. You're bringing lots of energy as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mali, what does the new generation of female investor look like? You ready to spoil something for me?
100%. There's no secrets here. Like, I think you named the problems already, the challenges already, and been there, done that, raised 6 companies in my life, which the W Launch is the 6th one, is the 5th one because the fund of fund is the 6th one. It's been there, done that, and always raising money, raising capital for growth from male investors. Mm-hmm. Not that this is a problem. We call them the good guys because they're investing also in women, and it doesn't matter the gender when they want to invest in good company. But eventually, we'd all know that if it's not diversified, if they don't have a diverse team within the venture capital, they all seems to go to the same founder in the same area that they feel very connected or related to. And there we have a problem.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned W Lounge. What is it exactly that you're doing there? What is your purpose?
So W Launch is everything. We call it ecosystem because it came from a reason. It came from a pain point that I wish I had that when I started, when I was 26. And eventually, if you are a female founder, it doesn't matter the gender, honestly. If you're a founder and you want to get an access for skills, for growth, for mentor, for everything to bring your personality growth and also your business growth, you need to have the right network. Mm-hmm. You need to have the right people around you. And this is what it comes to deliver. So W Lounge, after 6 years that I'm here in Berlin, it's working with all layers that we call it ecosystem. Either it's the government, it's the Berlin Senate, it's in a global level, in a local level, it's of course, venture capitals, as you mentioned, family offices, Mittelstand, and startups, and connect the dots that eventually will level up the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned that you're raising a fund of funds. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Yes, and I think after this discussion that I have with a very good friend of mine today, Cecile, you will understand exactly why I'm taking this a huge mission on myself, but of course not alone. I always have amazing partners, amazing ambassadors, and people that working close to me. And a fund of fund is coming from the same reason that we're talking about. Venture capitals are very important for the startup to grow, for the startup to really have the capital, the knowledge, and the access. But on top of it, it cannot be close to small circle. Mm-hmm. It has to be, I would say, open, or at least to show that there is an openness. So when you are coming as an LP, they have to listen. So thank God they are listening without having also capital coming there with the W Launch mission, but on the same time, getting involved and put some capital, which means it's walk the talk. If you believe that female founder and diverse team can promote or outperform better, we want to also provide capital for this.
Okay, great. So I really feel the energy. You're super excited. And so for joining us today from Israel is also a power woman, and also the sign that investment isn't only a male domain anymore, right? And you picked her probably because of her, not just the impact that she's doing, but also in general that she's doing venture capital and for you guys to exchange. So please welcome in a Zoom call from Israel, Cécile Bliliou. She's the head of impact of Israel's biggest venture capital firm, Pitango Venture Capital. She's joining us today, and I leave the stage for now and leave it to you ladies. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mali
you so much.
and Cécile. See you later.
Thank you, thank you. I'm looking forward to see Cécile here on the stage. Hello, hello. And I'm super proud to call her my friend. Although, you know, it's not a secret. I was born in Tel Aviv. Cécile right now is in Tel Aviv, which means when you are a startup and you raise a successful company, you can raise it in a bubble. You have to look in the global level immediately. Who is your competitor? What is out there to compete your company? And of course, where you can find the capital. So, good morning, Cécile.
Good morning, Mali. It's so great to be here with you.
As always, you know, 2 years ago, I think it was already, we went together to Venice to talk about the same topic. But I think back then on stage, people thought we were crazy, talking about impact investment for revenue, doing good with your money, but also willing to get, you know, returns on this. So, you know, here we are. We know that COVID-19 also affected something good, and, you know, also being involved in the EIC, I see that the European Commission talking about this a lot, about impact investment, about diversity in the tech ecosystem, about supporting more also female founder and diverse team. And Cécile, before we will start, I would love you to share with the audience here in Germany, or even broader because we are online this year, who you are, what are you doing, and the ones that, you know, doesn't know who Cécile is, she's the godmother in Tel Aviv, that everything that touched the impact, the female founder, they're really, really providing capital where no one else is really stepping in.
Well, thank you, Mali, for this kind introduction. So hi again, everyone. My name is Cécile Bliliou. I'm the head of impact and sustainability for Pitango, which is Israel's largest venture capital fund. We have about $2.5 billion under management with funds across early stage growth and health tech. I've been very fortunate because in most of my career, I've been doing impact investing. I founded and managed Israel's first impact investing company that invested in early stage impact tech startups. And I was trained with this through the Nober Foundation and Paul Ban's work, who was one of the first movers and shakers of the impact investing industry. And actually, the idea of gender investing and looking at women and female founders and thinking about the challenges that they face occurred to me, I would say about 10, 12 years ago. Until then, I really didn't think there was a problem. I didn't notice that there was a glass ceiling. And then I started noticing that women did have a harder time and that capital really is not being invested in women. And there is a paradigm that people think that you might not be able to blend this or certainly not blend impact and profits. And that's when I started noticing my own glass ceilings throughout my career looking back. And that's when I decided to start doing something about it. So I've been an impact investor working with early stage startups and now with Pitango with all ranges of startups, thinking about implementation of impact and sustainability across the board. And certainly one of my areas of focus is gender equality, diversity and inclusion in the venture capital world.
Thank you, Cécile. One of the things that I want to add from my point of view is like being also a female investor, and I will talk about both of us here, is always be the only one around the table, which is okay at some level, but we also need to make sure that we pull, you know, other to make sure that we won't be the only person, you know, and thank God we have like right now a great example in the White House as well, that probably we will see that it's affecting globally in other women. But I want to ask you, you know, been there, done that. I was 20-something, raised the first, you know, fundraising for my first company. It was absolutely a male investor, which was okay. You know, for me, as you mentioned, I didn't feel that something wrong because it was kind of like part of the game. That was the game. But at some point, you know, when you get to your 35, 40, you absolutely understand that something is wrong. So I want, because this is actually not enough time to talk about this huge topic, I want to ask you, Cecile, let's try to find a solution. What do you see? What are you doing every day to make it better?
So we have to work on several levels. Of course, there is incremental change that needs to happen that goes through education, through STEM education, through bringing in more women into the venture industry, etc. And this is something that has to be done, and we're dealing with that, but it's long term. As for now, like right now, first of all, we need to create networks, and W Lounge is an excellent example of that. Women lack network. They lack the ability to reach the right investors, to reach the right partners, to reach the right funding, to reach sometimes even the right customers. So we have to provide network and support each other. I think there's a saying that there's a special place in hell for women who actually don't help other women. I believe that's true. It's our role as female leaders, in a way, which has happened with time, to support younger female leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, etc. So that's one thing, networking and access. Number two, we have to sit in the room. We have to make sure that more women sit in the rooms, in the funds, with the ones who are deploying the capital. There must be many more women sitting in the room who can also create a better atmosphere and an easier way for women to access and discuss and present, and also bring the value of understanding that women actually present differently and may have different ways of seeing how business evolves. And that is not a bad thing. It's actually just different. So our role as investors, as female investors that are sitting in the room, on one hand, to create a better atmosphere for the women presenting, but also for our male partners to sort of do the translation or the intermediary work on explaining how women see things. And number three, we have to make sure that women across the board understand that the high-tech industry is inclusive of everyone. You don't have to be a developer necessarily to be included in the venture capital and startup industry. Startups don't only work on their technology. They need people from everything, from marketing to finance to business development to support, to like every other thing is also part of the startup. So female, sometimes women are a little bit reluctant of joining the startup world and the venture capital world because they think it's only about technology development, but it's not. So be inclusive and provide opportunities right now.
Thank you, Cecilia. You mentioned many things that touch the personality, which I love it. And, you know, we know that, I mean, on purpose you are here on stage because, you know, right now I'm in Berlin, you're in Tel Aviv, but eventually we deal with the same challenges, and we all know that startups need different ecosystem to learn and to grow with. And I know that Berlin and Tel Aviv is one of the, at least one of my favorite collaboration. But on the same time, I want you to give some tips for the audience today, because probably the majority of the audience still think that impact investment, it's not necessarily for revenue, it's not necessarily running for the same rules of the venture capitals or pure venture capital. You're part of Pitango, so absolutely go without saying it's for revenue, because Pitango has a hand in all the biggest name in the world today. I want you to give some tips, please, on this stage, on purpose, in a global level. What is impact when it comes to the founder? How can I build my product, and I know it's doing good because every founder thinks it's going to change the world, but how can I define it as an impact when I pitch it to investors?
Yes, excellent question. So first of all, impact is a mindset. It's like you said very well, it needs to be something that you believe in and that you think you can do, but maybe you need some help thinking what is the target and what are the key performance indicators, the KPIs that you want to achieve. So first of all, you start with a mindset. What is my intention and what am I trying to achieve? Then I advise founders to first of all build their company under the ESG assumptions. So ESG stands for environment, social, and governance, which really means how you run your business. What kind of people you hire, what terms of working conditions do they have, what kind of training opportunities, profit sharing, how do you look at your board, how do you construct it, how do you make sure that it works well and that you're making sure there's no problems like sexual harassment or any kind of inclusion problems. Then if you have some material production, you think about your supply chain. How do you source your material? Where do they come from? How accountable are you for that? And what kind of product you want to deliver? So first of all, you build the ESG, and it's not very difficult. You just need to go online, look at what ESG stands for, and find out how you build your company. And it doesn't matter if it's two entrepreneurs and a PowerPoint presentation, or a company that is already bigger and is trying to rethink about itself. Next, the way to do it in a quantifiable way is, instead of saying the word impact, look at the Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, this poster, which is right here behind me. So the Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals that were defined by the UN, which have to be achieved by year 2030. So that we have a good society to live in and a good planet to live in. So if you look at the 17 goals and you go inside of these goals, you will see the directives. So there's more than 200 directives. And you try to think about your product and these directives and try to think which one of these directives actually speaks your product. What is your product going to do about them? Then you have a very clear mission. You understand what is the total addressable market. The time frame is 2030. Out of that, you know who your stakeholders are, what do you build for them, what is your time frame, what is your market, and ultimately, this is how you build your business plan and your product. So it starts with the intention and the mindset, and it ends with very, very practically building a plan that is based on numeric, quantifiable outcomes.
Very good goal at the end. I love the last word. I want to ask you as well, continue, because I know you're sitting in front of the SDG. You know, the SDG actually take 6 years before. We didn't have this language to talk about sustainable, to talk about impact. And you know what we raised in W Launch? We call it the WDL. It's the W Launch Dare Leadership. Following the SDG, we have the WDL. It's 12 skills on the personality that you have to have as a founder, as a leader, as you want to call yourself a leader and your product has to lead the category, like best case scenario. I want to dive into it with you because eventually I would talk for a second as a W Launch, you know, as a connector, as matching between capital and technology. Most of the time when it doesn't work, it's because of the personality of the team and the founder. Something is not going well there. And I want you to give a tips right now. What are you searching in founder? And we both know that we are not investing only in women. If the product is amazing and a diverse team, we're all into it. What are the characters? What are the personality that you're searching when you are talking with founders, when you're talking with the team?
Yes, so I think the team is probably the most critical part, and you're absolutely right that you need to train the teams. So the founders need to be a rare mix of people who can do a marathon, but with sprints. And it really is rare. Being an entrepreneur is already quite a difficult task, but you need to be able to understand that you need to set long-term goals and take the company, or be able to take the company really all the way, even if you haven't done it in the past, but really be able to think about your company as a unicorn that will be taken public, and how will you do that? And next to that, understand that it's a sprint, that you have to run short sprints all the time, and you can't get tired. It's totally something that needs to be embedded. When I look at founders, I also try to find out what is their intention. Do they actually have a mission? Do they have a passion for changing the world, for doing something with their product that they're building that actually makes a difference? This is something that they have to be convinced of. Otherwise, it will be thrown out the window the first time that they have a difficulty. You have to make sure that the founders are people that are cohesive, that they work together. If it's a lone founder, that's a different story. But many times we see several founders together. So the way that they work together, the cohesiveness between the founders and their ability to collaborate and also let go. So some people will do different things and they need to come across as people that will be able to work together in the long term. And that's the dynamics between the team. It's critical as well, because many of the companies that fail actually fail because of the challenges between the founding team as it is.
100%.
I think it has to be diverse in many ways, and also be committed to understanding that building a startup is a very long path. And by finding the product market fit, you will change and tweak your business a few times. And you need to be flexible enough to understand it and be able to bend, but not break.
Very well said. And as always, amazing. We never have enough time to talk about this topic. It's amazing to have you. And we didn't mention Gita, but it's obviously we will talk more about Gita because WLaunch is a big supporter. And as always, we gather forces. We work together in a global level for a very, very important mission. Thank you so much, Cecile. I want to thank you for the time and the efforts and to really, really empower you to keep pushing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mali. And I give it right back at you. You're doing something tremendous and amazing and so, so important. I'm your #1 supporter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cecile.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Very interesting talk. And
this is the next generation.
It is, right? So we actually have a couple of questions also concerning the next generation. Someone is asking, I have 2 daughters in elementary school. What initiative do you see in these early stages to become entrepreneurial?
Oh, very good one. As a mother, I will tell you that it's really comes from home, from the education. I mean, first of all, as a role model, don't be afraid, don't show them how much you're scared from, don't give them, I would say, the reason why not to dare to do. This is one thing. And the second thing, what I'm doing with my kids, which I think it's the genuine answer, is like every time we see, the sparkle, the magic, we support them. Like my son is a trader, my son is a coder since A class. So everything they're doing, we make them as much as professional as we can have, because thank God everything goes on the internet. You can buy them a course, you can buy them a mentor, and go without saying for my daughter, she already knows she has a vision for what she is, willing to do or dreaming to do, and we always encourage and give her feeling that she can do it and give her the skills and the tools.
And you're talking about daughters as well, right? Especially once they grow up and then you go out, and we're still living in a male-dominated world. So as a mother also, what would you recommend them? What would you give them on the way to just push through?
I think everything I mentioned when it comes to be a role model, my kids are coming to the right events that I'm running sometimes because it's just for them to see. You don't have to explain, you don't have to over-educate them, but just show them that there is a way, that there is an opportunity for you to do exactly what you dream of, but you have to invest time and effort, and you have to burn from the inside. This is what I'm telling them. This is exactly what you want to do. Okay, so we will buy you the software, we will buy you the right computer, and so on and so on. But on the first time, that this is not buying them for the meaning of buying, but for raising them, that we believe in them, and then they believe in themselves.
And as a female founder yourself, what are your recommendations for other female founders or females that are trying to set up companies at this point?
So the first thing is gender is not an issue. Okay, let's be honest. Once you're professional, once you deliver what you say that you deliver, even like 10x, there's non-issue anymore about the gender. But you have to dream big. This is a big issue when it comes to female in leadership or female that willing to be in leadership, and on the same time, make sure that you can execute amazingly what you're saying that you will. So as a female founder, if you will say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and in 2 years we will be here and there, make sure that you will be way before the 2 years already when you mentioned. And then you have the credit, you have the credibility, and the rest is history.
Okay, wow. And one more question, also concerning the impact investments that you talked about with Cecile, right? Do you think that Corona is a catalyst for impact investments, and why?
100% yes. Not that it wasn't there. I told you, like, we're talking about this like 2 years, and people really thought that these are crazy. Not because we aim only for impact, but we see that this is doing good with the money, still having great revenue. Why? It's because it's suddenly also the public sector talking about this, the European Commission level, people understand that diversity and, you know, the global warming and food and everything that we touch, we have to bring solutions because eventually we have one planet, you know, and one society, you know, if you look at this in a global level. And those startups that will be smart enough to build technology or product that will really truly solve a problem, they will do an impact and they will be the next winners, you know. This is what we're starting to do, or like willing to do, to find the winners of tomorrow. But we want to allocate them while understanding that the money that we deploy is also supporting them in this mission.
Great. I think finding the winners of tomorrow, this is a great last word. Thank you very much, Mali,
Thank
for
you
being
so
here with
much.
us today, and also to Cecile. She can't hear us anymore, but she was here. And for us, we continue at 12:15 with our next session. And if you want to network, start networking like a pro, then you should stay tuned. Just get a cold drink and stay tuned till 12:15, because we will have a great session until how to become a networker like a pro. And we're back. Back for our third session of the day, which is going to be about networking. So I have a little story to tell. When I was in business school, my teachers, my professors always, they told us, yeah, you guys, you need to go out, need to go out networking. It's the most important thing to do for your career. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I went out to events and yeah, I got there, didn't feel comfortable, stood around with a weird look on my face and yeah, tried to talk to people, figured out, well, I didn't really gain something from this and left. So yeah, wish I had the chance back then to talk to someone like him, like our next guest, who could have told me on how to do it properly and how to network like a pro and not just yeah, go home totally disappointed. So with that said, let's welcome our next guest, and he's got an incredible number. I have to check it up. It's 25,000 contacts he has in LinkedIn, which 17 years of working in the tech industry have brought him. So he probably knows what he's talking about. Let's welcome the CEO and the founder of Club Globals, or for those who don't have like a proper name memory, you probably recognize him by his glasses. So let's welcome Mario Palladini. Mario, great for being here. How are you doing today? Yeah, you're always welcome, right? It's not your first time at Startup Night.
I love Startup Night.
So, the glasses, Mario, what about it?
The glasses, huh? So I'll tell the story of the glasses later, so I'll keep more...
Just keep the tension up, right?
Keep the tension there. Hold on. We're going to be there.
25,000 contacts. It's an incredible number. In a normal year, how many networking events do you visit? Like, and how many events do you go per year?
Well, I also organize my own events. I mean, more than 100 events were organized already. But a normal year, it's not about numbers. I think it's about the quality. But I would say 20, 30 events. Let's go from small events to major events. So, yeah. And it's not only events. It's always also other places to network as well. No?
Oh, okay, yeah, obviously. And let's look at special memories. I always like special memories, things that you make you smile if you look back at them. Do you have any of some events that you will always keep in mind? Some things that will always remember you of a certain event?
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of experience and stories. I think one was really impacting just before Corona. We were with Startup Night in Dubai as well, networking with a completely other culture, with sheikhs, and that was another level of networking that you need to be fit to get there as well. So that was a nice challenge and stretch, networking with sheikhs and other cultures. Yeah. I always love the challenge.
Cool. Okay, Mario, with that said, I'll leave the stage. I'll leave it to you. And
Thanks,
for you as the audience, enjoy Mario's keynote about how to network like a pro.
Yeah, thanks, Fabian. Networking like a pro. Okay, what a name, actually. I think it's one of the most important skills for the future with all this artificial intelligence and deep tech and so on, is social intelligence, how to connect with people. That's the most important part. And why networking? Why do you think you network? You network to get your next investor, you need your business partner, your talent, your friends, your date. You all need people to make things happen. That's why let's jump into why networking like a pro. So the story of the glasses, I'm not wearing glasses, that's that's your first lesson on networking, and it's called the what is it? It's something that makes you stand out. Could be glasses, could be a pin, like Mali in the other session had a flower here, your socks are green, or whatever makes you stand out. So I started wearing these glasses. I took my team to the 3D movie and said, look guys, I wear these black frames until the platform is ready to keep me focused. I was such a good marketing and awareness that I decided to keep the glasses on and change the color based on the next milestone. So you see me there with Paulo Coelho with the black glasses, Vincent Cerf, the founder of Internet, with the white glasses. I was also with the president of Emirates with the orange glasses, government with the red glasses. So always changed the color of the glasses. The president of the Cisco in New York, President Steinmeier here in Berlin as well. So I wear glasses to stand out, to bring the attention as well. They are branded already by that time. And that is something in networking, it's called what is it? And it helps you stand out and differentiate so people can recognize. And that's an opener. So people come like, you're not wearing glasses. Well, quite weird, you know? And you open conversation. Then you tell the story. Okay, that's not that stupid, all right? So who is this guy and why should I listen? I mean, that's the main question people ask when they are going to these networking workshops or session. So let me tell a little bit my story. So I hope you inspire at least and all go there. So I come from Argentina. I studied in the States, but then I came in Germany. So I was in Argentina and said, okay, I want to go to Germany. How can I work in Germany and a world war country? And so I said, okay, let's go to a platform. And then I went to the #1 professional platform at that time. And they say, okay, let's look for, I was working in IT, technology, let's work for business development in Berlin. I found a director who speaks Spanish. I checked, I contact him, I get to my website. I say, I would like to work there. I contact directly through the platform. No HR, no the main channels. I contact directly because I knew he needs something and we had something in common. We both speak Spanish. So I sent the contacts and then he invited me from all the way from Argentina to have an interview. We had an interview. And then 1 month later, I was working for the world's largest enterprise software company, an Oracle. I was investing most of my time there at the beginnings. I won some innovation awards. I was giving training, I was business development, etc. I also founded a group, actually, LinkedIn, because I was looking for IT global sales community. I didn't find anything, so I just created myself. I created a LinkedIn group. By now, it's 250,000 followers, more than 43,000 members. So if you don't find your network or your group, just create it, and people will join you. That's another tip there behind. So then they asked me, because I have so many international contacts, they want to be the ambassador of the world's largest expat community in Berlin. So I joined. I was organizing monthly events for more than hundreds of people. So I got the chance to practice this networking skill, especially the cultural part. Then I also founded the first English-speaking Rotary Club in Berlin, also the electronic Rotary Club organization with more than 1.2 million members, 24,000 clubs. So that's also, these are with different presidents of Rotary Internationals. And I love to bring people together to make things, happen, especially social causes as well. So after connecting the newcomers and the people who are coming to the city, so my natural next step was to create a platform, a community to connect the newcomers in the city and everything they need to set up their life and business. That's how Club Globals came up. We had like yellow pages for internationals, also bringing events so they can make new friends and contacts. And that's how we come with my fully time business is networking. And we got some prizes, we're recognized by the media, etc. But now let's enter about networking like a pro. That's the future, how I see actually how it's going to be networking. So you will have some contact lenses. Unfortunately, I need to change my glasses. So you'll have some contact lenses. You will see the profile of the person. So you will see, okay, what is the matching criteria with the person I'm watching right now? It is like 27% matching based on the public information available in all the social networks. So we'll have a lot of information to quickly jump into like what are the common things, etc. But until we are in that point, guess what? We need to do some homework and we need to do some planning, okay? It doesn't make sense to just go out there and there's networking. You need to have a goal, why you want to network. It is to raise funds, to get customers, to find a new contact, community. What is your goal? What do you want to achieve? And then when you have your plan, then you can go out there and check all the kinds of events that are there. As I mentioned, we organize with Club Global more than 100 events, different from small to big and medium. There are also other platforms there to check it out, so you can find what is the event that is matching your goal, what you want to achieve. Once you find the right event, for example, the startup night, okay, then you can see, okay, who is there? Who are the guest list? Try to find out who is the guest list. Who are the speakers? Who is the host? Check who are the matching things, and then some special trick that I was doing actually, I was finding the people actually that was in the event, and I was even taking a screenshot, and I was like, okay, I want to meet with Chem. I take a screenshot, so I have the picture with me. I'm going to the event. Where is Chem? Oh, there is Chem. Okay, I have the picture. Yeah, that's the person I want to meet. And then I'll just find the opportunity how to meet with him. All right? That's an insider tip from my side. So once you want to meet with Chem from Startup Night, I wouldn't recommend to jump into him and say, hey, Chem, I want to meet you because la, 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 la. It's like, okay, freak. Try to get an introduction, all right? Try to get like a warm-up introduction from someone. Yeah, if you see a friend talking with Chem, go to your friend and say, could you help me to connect with Chem? I would like to discuss something, etc. if you don't know anybody there, go to the main organizer, the host, the ambassador. Those people are in charge of connecting and making people happy and connected, okay? So and if you don't know anyone, you don't even know the person, go always to the bar, have a drink, talk with people coming there, to the food, coffee. Those are the places where most of the people are open for networking. And the small question, make it everything genuine. Don't try to just fake it and just feel comfortable. That's why I recommend to go to the event that you feel comfortable, you feel excited, and try to speak the same language that the people are speaking. So, okay and okay is a technique especially is used when you're talking with somebody and you feel not feeling okay. And if you're coming super okay, that most probably won't go very well. Always you need to tone down and mirror the different way that people are. If you're okay and the other person is okay, probably will be a good conversation. If you're okay and the other is not okay, probably you need to tone down. If the other person is not okay, you're not okay, then it will be also a good conversation. So always watch out the person's state of mood. Another technique as well is the role of communication is the PAC, that is called the parental, the adult, and the childhood. Sometimes we're in parental mode, we're telling people what to do, in critical mode. Another some adult conversation is more to fact, and sometimes we're in child mode. Child mode could be more like a natural kid, okay, I want to, like the typical founder, they want to ski, jump from a parachute, etc. Could be an adaptive kid that, okay, everybody's going to that event, we go everybody to that event. Or could be just, you need to be sure with which level are you talking. So ideally, always need to talk with the same person role. So it's adult to adult, child to child. Another one important is the same transaction analysis. If you need to learn other person, if it is a visual person, usually more salespeople, founders are very visual. So you can learn that of the way they are talking. So they say, oh yeah, I'm I see what you mean. Or I can imagine. And so people talk, the way the words they say, the way they breathe as well, is on the top. Also the auditive persons are oh, I hear you. So you need to tone down. Usually engineers are very auditive. With my partner, we need to find a way, because if you want to tell me something, you need to draw it very big, make a presentation. For him, you need to just tell him slowly and he will get it. I don't have that ability, actually. And the other people that's kinesthetic, they're more like the sensoring. Oh, I feel you. They need to touch more, basically the artist. So those are the things you need to make sure how you're talking. An amazing book, actually, that is from former FBI, and it's body language. So if you see the importance of the no verbal communication around that, like when you're looking in the eyes, the way they smile, showing the teeth. So those are things that are giving you information. So when you're reaching with somebody, you need to take care of every little gesture, as well as the way you dress up. You cannot dress up, you need the famous dress for success. You cannot go to an event and they are not appropriate dress. So I always recommend you to go a little up than a little less. Right? So body language, for example, if I'm pointing my legs in one direction, if I'm closing my arms, if I'm opening them. So these are different little things that you need to make sure that you are reading others people, so to save time and to save others. So if I see somebody's pointing their legs other way around in my conversation, he wants to leave. So let him go, and maybe it's another chance to have another conversation. Maybe he's in a hurry or he wants to go away. Focus on the person as well. Focus on the person when you're talking. When you're talking with somebody, look in the eye and give all the attention, genuine attention. Don't start okay, yeah, because it's rude, actually. You need to be kind by networking. That's very, very important. So the most important as well is smile. Smile is for free, guys, okay? That's my signature over there. You see the little A with the exclamation mark. So that's me smiling, actually. That's my signature. So I believe this is whatever culture, whatever language, with a smile is an opener. So practice more, if for free. I totally recommend just do it. Tell the other people's name. It's so beautiful when somebody tells your name. Sometimes in an event you have name badge. Just use the opportunity. Just read the name and you come to the person, hey Emily, how is it going? Yeah. And people love when they call their name because they remember, they care about you. It's the most beautiful thing you can tell someone, their name. the elevator pitch. So once you have your plan, you identify the events, then you get an introduction, then you need to present yourself. So you have like 10 seconds to see who are you, what are you looking for, and how the other person can help you. So save your time, save that people's time, and have a very sharp elevator pitch. Who are you, what are you looking for? Right? And then we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more. Listen to the things the other person is talking, all right? That's super important. Sometimes we are like just megaphoning and telling so much like to just listen to other person and trying to find how the way to communicate. And that's coming to our next point, is to find the common interest. What's things that come together? Because when you find a common interest between us, you make a more larger relationship. You'll have a long-term relationship. That's what we want. You want at the end long-term valuable relations, not just one touch and go. So also important is to give. So when you go to the event, you can smell people, feel that people are just going to get more contact to make more cards. Think the other way around. How can you add value to the other event? People are pushing their website, their business card. Like how you can help other people. Here, like the slogan is here to help. How you can help others to make things happen. So focus on more we and not me, right? Very important. So once you already help people, like you promise, oh, we'll connect you with this person. If you want to look professional, do it as soon as possible. Have a conversation here, I should connect you with this person. I took my telephone and I made an introduction immediately. Don't wait until next day. You pile up work and you don't look that professional if you do it at the same time. Right? I would recommend that my grandfather told me, you need to read How to Make Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. It's like, Grandpa, I know how to make friends. I would definitely recommend some of the tips are here as well. There's a new version on the digital area. Totally recommend you guys to read that book. And they stay connected. Now there are 1,000 ways to get connected. You can do LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. But check where your network are, your target audience is, and follow up. Because the important is to nurture your network. Nurture, add more value continuously. Maybe writing a blog, sending more content, etc. Right? So my last tip is, of course, in these COVID times, digital. You need to have a digital presence. My recommendations, LinkedIn. Use your cover. There are many tricks about LinkedIn. I'm happy to give some free sessions. Contact me there. You can scan me and put me a hashtag here to help. I'm happy to give a free consultation on how to put your LinkedIn together. And yeah, thanks so much for the networking tips. Looking forward for your questions.
Thank you, Mario. Great presentation. You're laughing. This is fun. It's fun even if there's no audience, right? Thank you very much for these insights, right? One thing up front. Corona has changed this whole networking game a lot, right? What have you observed? Like, what is the major change? Obviously, we can't meet in person anymore, but is there still a way on how to make new contacts, on how to stay connected, and like, what would you recommend there?
I would definitely recommend us to stay alive, to stay networking, to connecting people. It's good for your health, for your energy. I know we have some challenges. Let's face those challenges, find solutions. I think the Sun team is making an amazing experience to bring online, find platforms, network online. Keep networking because it's what's bring value and push you in your life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like as you talk about like keeping your network, how to make sure to keep connections alive and not just let them fade away quickly. Do you have any recommendations? That's a question from the audience.
Yeah, there are different platforms. Of course, I would recommend to join the platform that your network is. If you're on LinkedIn, just put your network there, polish your profile, add people, and add value, add content. Mm-hmm. So people add valuable content, not just content, but people they think, oh, my network would like to see this. Mm-hmm. If you have like a software, like you have a CRM software, you can send e-newsletters, or you can send a blog post. Use the technology to connect and get you closer with those contacts.
And like over the years now, LinkedIn has become a more and more influential platform, right? Yeah. So there are more and more people influencing on a business perspective. If someone is aspiring to become a LinkedIn influencer, what would you recommend them to do?
Well, right now, video is a big thing for LinkedIn, especially live videos. If you have a special content that you would like regularly share and publish, mm-hmm. I push you to use the logarithm from LinkedIn on live videos, because right now that's what is hot right now for LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah.
They also invented stories and stuff, like they put everything...
Stories are coming out as well, so they're getting the best practice from other platforms and bringing them for the professional network.
Which ones are you doing?
I'm mainly on LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah. And also doing the stories, or...
Doing some stories as well, and yeah. It depends of what is the business on the audience, that's the focus, yeah.
Yeah. Another question from the audience. I don't want to waste too much time or the time of others than the decision makers. How do you go about finding the right people to network with?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. It's all about the planning beforehand and making understand it not about yourself, like what is the value that you can add to other person, how you can help to achieve his goal. And then contacting through an introduction, ideally, and then this person will help you as well to push you up.
Yeah. And eventually also like authenticity is key, right? So
Genuine, being genuine, not fake. People can smell that. People can smell if you're like, okay, he's just playing the role. Just chill out. What is the worst thing can happen to you? Just chill out, you know?
So, I mean, like, this is a good statement that you're making, right? Because we've also been asked, like, do you always go to a networking event with a plan, or do you just go there spontaneously and see whatever happens?
Yeah. Sometimes you get invited from a friend and you just trust your friend, and there you are. You don't need to plan that much then. Save some time.
Yeah. So what do you think when will we be able to have like proper networking events again?
Yeah. Today, now. Go to hop in, start networking, get people. Let's use the time now. Yeah. It's an investment of time. Some people they give an app. This is your opportunity to jump in and network online. So when the time we get out, you're going to be in a better position.
Great. And one more question. What would you recommend for networking if you're a student? The problem is we often do not know what we want yet, but meet a lot of interesting people on the way. Should we just add them all?
Yeah. I think it's a good question. Actually, I've been giving lessons in some business university, and I was astonished how people, they were not even connecting between their main students. So use your network, that people invest in thousands of euros in their education, but at the end, actually, the most important part is when you're getting out and invest in a proper professional picture and a profile, connect with your peers in the classroom, and maybe one of your peer classmates is already networking better than you, but you're already connected with your peer classmate. So he will help you to push. So start connecting between your peers, bring strong network, and then you go to the next level. And you can do it with teachers, with lecturers, at the event, people going to events as well.
And it's also a great chance to practice, right? Eventually, networking also takes practice. It took you a while to get to where you are right now, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Okay, Mario, thank you very much for being here, for this insightful presentation, and the good energy and the good vibe that you're bringing to the stage, and to all our viewers outside on the screens. We will continue at 12:45, excuse me, with a session that is more tech-oriented, with a session that is probably digging really deep into the tech world. We hope that you stay tuned for our Hubraum guests at 12:45, and see you then. Thank you. And welcome back, lunchtime, 12:45, for our fourth session of the day, which is presented to you by one of our long-term partners, Hubraum, the incubator of Deutsche Telekom, who was founded in 2012 and is just a startup night celebrating its 8th birthday, or was celebrating its 8th birthday this year. Back in the day, in 2012, Hubraum was one of the first, if not the first, corporate incubator, and was back in the time focusing more on B2C and e-commerce startups, and brought out some of the names that you might have heard that have also made it in the United States. For example, Blinkist and Vigor. But during the time, the focus has shifted, and now Hubraum is focusing more on deep tech and innovation programs revolving around IoT, AI, and 5G, as Deutsche Telekom is one of the major drivers of 5G technology. Hubraum has set up, for example, a prototyping garage, which is utilizing the first 5G live networking connection for startups to dock onto and try out their products, work with the technology, and improve their products while they're live. But there is more to that, and there is a next step coming up. And the next step is not just only giving access to the hardware, but now opening up the Telecom cloud and also software parts of Deutsche Telekom's stack to startups and access offer startups the access to this API. So in our next topic and in our next guest from Krakow, from Hubraum Krakow, he will explain to you on how this works, what Deutsche Telekom is offering, what Hubraum is offering. And I'll just hand it over to Marcin Kordas from Hubraum Krakow. He's the CTO and evangelist of the API developer portal of Deutsche Telekom.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcin Kordas. I am the CTO and evangelist of Telecom for Developers program. I would like to now share with you in this short session what is Deutsche Telekom's offering in terms of APIs, network controlling APIs, and what do we have to do in terms of exposing those APIs. So let me invite you for this short session where you'll learn both what are APIs, how do you use them, what could you do with Telecom perspective of APIs, and what's the future, what can you do to help it grow and support it. So let's dive right in. I hope you all can see my presentation right now. You should be seeing Large Blocks Live with Telecom for Developers. And now I'll have one significant question and request. If you're a developer who is now currently working on important tasks, I would encourage you to take a break, do a comment, and listen, because your voice and comment are really crucial here and for us. Because it might be that based on your individual input, our whole initiative would pivot 180 degrees. If you're the manager, do the same, please. Silence your inbox, pause typing important emails, because it might be that based on your feedback, we will create a solution that's an answer to your problem actually. But as in all presentations, they in general start with About Us section. But this time it will be opposite. Who we are you will hear in, let's say, the middle and the end part of the presentation, but now I would like to ask you some questions about you, which could later let us know you a little more for the future and adjust what we have built in even more customer-driven approach. Here are the 3 questions that if you want, no pressure of course, you might answer during our Q&A session after this presentation via provided questionnaire. I will share it then with you. So the first question is, do you use any kind of external APIs in your products or services? Second is, do you have products not related to IT but see the need to get remote supervision over it? Like, sending SMS notification, getting any information about how the process is ongoing. And the third one, do you, after this presentation in particular, see interest in using any of Telco APIs? Feel free to tell us about it, and let's say name what's your favorites. You can describe the use case. We're really open to hear your voice here. Let's begin. Before we dive deeper, let's make sure we are all on the same page. So what is API? An API is an application programming interface. It is a set of rules that allows programs to talk to each other. The developer creates the API on the server and allows the client to talk to it. So what for us is graphical interface on computers, the same is API for applications. This kind of API-based data exchange can be done in or realized in various manners. First is peer-to-peer communication of IoT solutions that are based on embedded systems. And this is in general M2M communication. This is internal data exchange, like application could request position coordinates from GPS module and then by means of different API be fetching the maps of the neighborhood from the service provider. Can this be a typical web communication with common, server-client understanding? But it can also be mission-critical application, for instance, in VTX data communication exchange. So actually, it could be any service that want to exchange the data without human or user mediation. Now, there are different kinds of APIs, but here we are mainly talking about REST APIs. REST determines how API looks like. It stands for Representational State Transfer. It is a set of rules that the developer follows when they create their API. One of these rules states that you should be able to get a piece of data, called a resource, when you link to a specific URL. Each URL is called a request, while the data sent back to you is called a response. To understand what paths are available to you, you need to look through the API documentation. For example, let's take an exemplary GitHub's API. The docs tell you to use the following path to do so, which is https api.github.com/zen. When you hit enter, I'll explain maybe what's curl first. So you can send a request with any programming language. JavaScript users can use methods like fetch API or jQuery's Ajax method. Ruby users, for instance, can use RubyNet HTTP class. Python users use Python requests, and so on. For this presentation, I have decided to use a command line utility, which is called curl. And when you use curl, you actually can refer to any API documentation, because normally most of those reference to curl. So if you understand how to use curl, you have no problems in understanding API documentations. Then you can easily perform requests with your preferred language of choice. So the moment we hit enter, we get a response. As simple as that. Here you can see what you paste. When you paste the URL to web browser, you could get the request also presented as a plain text. And actually the URL that you use every day in a browser is also a form of API. You download the website data in a form of HTML, JavaScript, or whatsoever, which is the file that's representing target website. Then your browser interprets that and presents it in a, let's say, nice and attractive way. To give you, however, a little more insight to aforementioned set of rules that we discussed on former slide, I would like to show you the curl response to the same request, but displaying the message headers. As you will see now, I will just put the /i parameter, and now we can see all the headers related to this message. And alignment of all those parameters guarantees the successful communication between you and specific endpoint. But we do not have to, on the other hand, do it on a daily basis. It's just that you show, just to show you, let's say, how well it's structured. For us, the most important idea is, if you want to get data, send data, update it or delete it, and if I'm allowed to do it, then I simply request the action and get it done. Now, the question is, what kind of APIs would be available within Deutsche Telekom? DT is having plenty of controlled internal services that were designed or redesigned to be all API controlled. Those include core telco services like establishing phone calls, sending SMS messages, and more. Those kind of services can be externalized to allow even easier control of those. Thus, with one short request, you could establish a phone call between you and your mom by internet, by internet connected device, or send just a simple SMS notification. But based on unitary API functionalities like those, you could build service APIs like such, which allows making a group call by means of single requests. So those are just simple building blocks for something more creative. And this is where you, as a developer or service provider, come in. Second group of those building blocks are APIs that would be that are standardized by 3GPP, which are 4G and 5G APIs called SCAF and NEF. SCAF stands for Service Capability Exposure Function, NEF for Network Exposure Function. We'll discuss that in a minute. But those allow playing with your connection setup, or let's say network functions, to access data in very specific manner, like ultra reliably or in low power mode or having insane throughput, depending on what you wish for. And the last group is actually are the third-party APIs of services integrated and available within DT, or maybe just the partners or companies supported by Deutsche Telekom, whose APIs are adding a substantial value to what DT solely has in its offer. Now, briefly, let's go through 4G SCAF and NAF, because this is something really, really interesting. This is, let's say, something I'm really passionate about, and this is something which sounds like black magic a little, but as I told you, this is 4G service capability exposure function and 5G network exposure function. What they do? SCAF is a new network element that securely exposes the servers and capabilities provided by 3GPP network interface. So it mainly gives you an access to functionalities embedded within so far cellular network, 4G cellular network. Its main idea, of course, is to enhance the IoT communication from cellular network perspective, with preserving of battery life or having the ability to trigger more complex network activities on the device when necessary. For instance, heartbeat or any other state monitoring. NEF, however, goes a step further and in slightly different direction. It mainly gives you control over the connection parameters. From now on, you could request on demand, for instance, a data bundle and plenty of radio resources to download movie within seconds. You could ask some party to sponsor your traffic, or if, for instance, let's say you have built an application that allows you to drive your car from a smartphone. Then you could request a mission-critical connection, super stable, super reliable, which is actually devoted for that purpose. And there's actually 5G service which was created for such applications. This is called ultra reliable low latency communication. So in other words, it brings a lot to the table, and who is aware of what is it going to allow, then this person is really looking forward to what's coming. So far there are only a few functionalities available, but don't quote me on that, of course. The vast majority we hope to be released within 2 upcoming years. So, eventually we come to the part where you know what are the APIs, what DT can offer in this area. Some you might even have an idea what would we like to do with them. And now the answer how to do it is actually the Telecom for developers. Because as you have seen, there are many services within Telco environment, and integrating with each of them individually is not a mess. What we aim is to take what we do have in our environment and share it with the external world, which is in other words you. And to have it well aggregated and consistent, we want to have a common interface for every individual external developer or customer. So we would become a gateway in 2 dimensions, technical and organizational. How do we do it? First is ecosystem outreach. Hubram is known for standing on 2 legs. One of them is community and the second is breakthrough technology. We can easily reach out to our familiar technical, let's say geeky ecosystem to incubate utilization of those APIs. And then there's onboarding and activation, meaning that we will walk you through the whole process of onboarding to the platform and technology, and we will make it in a way that you will like it and you will use it. Thus, let's say this retention part that you will keep using it and further ideas and projects. And the whole thing will be based on the API gateway and developer portal that we have implemented. The bridging of the gap between the 2 worlds happens as follows. DT will provide the infrastructure access via APIs. We would engage you to use it. You, on the other hand, by using it, would naturally create use cases. And that would drive the API thinking in more and more sections within DT. So the idea is, let's say, kept. As we, as Telecom for developers, are a big part of bigger alliance, then you might realize that there are few similar initiatives within DT, and you might, let's say, at some points meet with them. However, the cool thing is that we are all aligned and we approach, let's say, the same challenge from different perspectives to have, let's say, greater chance of success. That's what we believe will work best. So don't be confused. However, coming back to our perspective, what is our main focus is customer and developer orientation and being as practical as possible. So we are probably well known with saying in startup environment, fail fast, and that was our approach. We have built the API gateway to get user feedback as quickly as possible and disrupt all our wrong assumptions immediately. So we have built and deployed super efficient gateway, open source gateway, based on which we could verify all our assumptions. Let me walk you through the screenshots of our MVP. So this is the landing page. Here you can, let's say, this is what you see when you enter developer.telecom.com. You can try it yourself right now. This is live. Then and you can go directly to API catalog where you can browse expose APIs. At present, publicly available is SMS API and voice calls API. When you register, you could request API token, which then you can use to authenticate yourself with an API documentation and send several messages just to yourself from one source to the other. And of course, you have API dashboard, which gives you basic overview of what was your consumption, what API subscriptions have you made, and so on and so forth. All the necessary functionalities, though yet minimal, but this is something what we focused on as an MVP perspective. And from our hand, we have a management dashboard, big brother view on what actually you did, how do you consume those APIs, so that we could learn how to make them better. Now, the Easter egg, which is a resultant of our extensive research, is actually that based on that we've learned a lot about you and what you need and what you expect. That's why we redesigned our portal, and you could see the first screenshot of how it's going to look like. The UX UI is totally different. There are new features. There's SSL, so you would be able to log in with all your familiar services, so Google, GitHub, Facebook, stuff like that. You could, let's say, test APIs without registration within Sandbox, and new services, new APIs will be introduced as well via this portal. So get ready. The thing that's live out there, this is beta, but something really attractive is about to come. This new perspective was possible thanks to our Hubram customer research team, which is Katarzyna, Daniel, and Agnieszka, who actually conducted a very, very deep and consistent developer research, thanks to which we have heard and discussed with maybe some of you what do you think, what do you like, what you don't like, and what can we do better. Now, in terms of a roadmap, the question is, what is a Telecom for developers roadmap of API exposure to, let's say, establish a global platform for developer relations in DT? And let's say we'll start again, as I told you, within this first group, so the Deutsche Telecom internal APIs. We'll expose what we have to control our networks. Then we'll expose our partners' APIs, also infrastructure providers, or again, internal business units. And eventually we'll go to the hottest part, which is 4G SCAF and 5G NEF. The moment we'll try to expose it as soon as it gets standardized and implemented, so that you can have access to it and you can use it. In the end, I'll encourage you to meet our team, our core team of the Telecom for Developers program. Cem is our head, and he's actually the head of Startup Night, which you're participating right now. This is a wonderful guy. Evelina, who is our marketing head, is running actually all the ideas, all the initiatives from perspective of marketing. Alex, who knows about stakeholders more than anyone I know, and well, me. I am actually as I told you, CTO of the Telecom for Developers, and the one I'm focused on approaching of this portal to be approached deeply from technical and developer perspective, which is yours. Thank you so much. I'll encourage you for questions. Now I'll just switch to my camera so we can discuss.
Hello, Marcin. Hi to Krakow. How are you today?
Perfect.
Great, that's good to hear. So we got a couple of questions from the audience, which I would like to ask you. First one is, will I be able to resell what I've built with the Telecom APIs, and how much will the share price be?
Yes, of course. We actually are doing this exercise with a very large company. I cannot tell the name right now, this is confidential. But let's say, if someone is interested, let's just stay in touch, because at this point we'll do it individually.
Okay, and will the APIs be also available on other networks, or only on the Telecom network?
Actually, that's what we're focused on within this alliance. We want to have it available within all the networks, so that we are not only limited to DT.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we will continue with our next session at 1:15, and it's the last session of today. And we will hear about a topic that is more important than ever for startups that are just about to be founded and are trying to find a founder fit in order to get a proper venture investment. And for that, I would like you to stay tuned. In the next couple of minutes, we'll start with this. And we're back for our last session of the day of Startup Night 2020. This session is a topic that concerns HR mostly and founding teams. Before I start, give me one more thing. A reminder that I want to tell you is that please fill out the survey that we sent around per email a couple of times now. Although we are here to help with this, with filling out this survey, you are helping us to continue Startup Night in the next years and also pushing political initiatives that we are planning for the next and upcoming year. So, continuing with our topic is, I'll ask a question up first. Did you know that according to CB Insights, 23% of all failed startups failed because of the poor composition of their management team? So it's not a surprise that investors are more and more looking for strong teams as one of the major evaluation criteria. However, conventional HR nowadays focuses mainly on background, on experience, and on sympathy. But it is important to look beyond that and to look at personal characteristics. For example, resilience to stress, fluid intelligence, extroversion, social compatibility, motivation, and the ability to learn and adapt in order to kind of like progress beyond the classical evaluation of startups and abilities of their founders. However, these and other factors are major indicators for successful startup investments and startup sustainable success. I'm excited to welcome an expert on this topic with me here on stage from the Executive Search Headhunter of the Year, Celestos Personal Management. Please welcome with me the Head of Recruitment and Management Analysis, Alexander Baxman.
Thank you.
Hello, Alexander. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm really excited to be here.
It's your first time at Startup Night, right?
Actually it is.
Yeah. Welcome to the family. So Alexander, when I worked at Hubraum, we always used to say, well, there was this one sentence we used to say, a good team can fix a shitty product, but a good product can't be sold by a bad team. What would you say about that?
I totally agree.
Yeah?
Actually, that's the whole point of my presentation today.
Oh, perfect. Then I'm not going to take away.
Want to talk about.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, then I leave the stage to you. Thank you very much, Alexander Baxman.
Yeah.
And now enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. A very warm welcome from my side as well. I really appreciate to be invited today to talk about a very important topic that hasn't been much part of the discussion yet, and that is personal due diligence, or how to reduce your investment risk by up to 20%. First, before I start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alexander Baxman. I am the head of recruitment and personal management analysis at Celestos Executive Search, Celestos Personal Management, I'm sorry. We are an executive search boutique in the heart of Berlin. And we are mainly focused on leadership positions from first to third level. And mainly for public companies, SMEs, multinationals, universities, and most importantly for private equity companies and startups, which is why I am here today. Before, I was a consultant in different other areas, and before that I was living in China and the UK. And in China I was able to start a small company myself, which I then exited before I left. And with the earnings of that, I was able to pay for my fees, for the tuition fees in the UK, and for the living expenses for my study there. So you might say that I might experienced my own little exit already. So I'm not completely new to the startup sector. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. And as Fabian already mentioned, I have to admit that my title might be a little bit misleading because I said it's 20%. Actually, it's 23%. Why? I found a survey published by CB Insights. For those who don't know CB Insights is a data providing company from the US, and they asked 101 failed startups post-mortem why they failed. And astonishingly, 23% of these failed startups argue or claim that they failed because of the wrong team. And when you look at the table, you see that the team is actually the one thing you have a direct impact as a founder yourself. You can't really influence the market situation, you can't really influence the customer's behavior or your competitor's behavior. But what you can do is you can have a direct impact on your own team. So I was then wondering, how do investors think of that? And I asked several seed and pre-seed investors in Berlin what they think is the most important factor for them when they decide to invest or not to invest in a startup. And they got 3 options: the team, the idea, and the financial situation. And as you can see, most of them said that for them, the team is the most important factor, followed by the idea and the financial situation. That may not be very surprising, but what's more surprising is how much effort investors actually put on the due diligence for the idea or the financial situation compared to what they do as a due diligence for the HR process. So I again asked them, what do they look at when they think of the team? And most of them stated that they look at the personal experience, the personal expertise, and only secondly, the personality and the soft skills of a team. Now, as you can see, management experience, for example, or market knowledge only plays a minor role. So you can screen the professional experience or expertise of a founder very easily. You can just take a look on the CV of the founder, on his or her LinkedIn profile, or ask for references, for example. It's much more difficult to screen the personality traits, measure the soft skills, and what you need to do first is you actually need to know what you are looking for. And for that, the answer is science. You can practically look for studies, which I did when I was preparing for today's session. I read many articles, many science papers, many journals, and many studies about the topic. And I found 4 I want to introduce you to, and especially I want to provide the results of these 4 to you. There is one I found at deutschestartups.de. Deutschestartup.de, they publish an article, some of you may read it already, and in this article they published the results of a study they conducted together with the University of Frankfurt, with the person of Lukas Fichter, and with Professor Charlotte von Bernstorff from Berlin Business School. And what they did is they looked at the resilience, the impact of resilience on startup performance. And why resilience, you might ask? Resilience is, from my perspective, one of the most important factors, soft skills, you have to have as a successful founder. Why? There is one thing that all startups have in common. It doesn't matter in which industry you're operating in. And this one thing is that you are all operating in an environment of complete uncertainty. So you need to be able to make decisions in such an environment, and you need to be able to stick to these decisions and to remain calm, to focus on what you know, on the information you get. And that is what resilience is all about. So coming back to the study of Fichter and von Bernstorff, they found that founders with a low profile, with a low resilience level, they produce a growth rate of up to 50%. Founders with a medium level of resilience produce a growth rate of up to 80%. But founders with a high level of resilience, they produce a growth rate of up to 100%. That means that they produce a growth rate double the rate of those founders with low resilience, and they are doubling the revenue every year. So Fichter also analyzed some other personality traits, and he conducted some research on 4 of the so-called Big Five. The Big Five are the main personality traits, and these 4 are namely emotional stability, conscientiousness, openness, and also extraversion. And as you can see, he found that all 4 of them have a positive impact on startup performance, but only 2 of them play a major role and actually have an impact that is 3 or 4 times the impact of, for example, extroversion or openness, and these 2 are conscientiousness and emotional stability. So I was wondering, what does that mean for the startup as an institution? What does a startup as an institution have to be like? And I found a paper published by Key and Baran in 2018, and they introduced so-called entrepreneurial orientation. Entrepreneurial orientation is a term coming from management literature. And in short, entrepreneurial orientation summarizes the ability of a startup or of a company, in this case, to turn strategy into actual or operational processes. And Key and Rahman, they argue in case of startups that there are 3 indicators relevant for entrepreneurial orientation. And these 3 are innovativeness, proactiveness, in other words, initiative, and the willingness to take risks. These 3 together combined made up 67% of the difference between a successful startup and a not so successful startup. 67%. So again, I was wondering, what does that mean for the individual level? And I found another paper published by Gao et al. Actually, it has been published this year, not 2010, that's the typo, sorry. And they looked for the entrepreneurial orientation of the individual. And especially they looked at the individual creativity that is mainly responsible for the other 3, innovativeness, proactiveness, and the willingness to take risks. And this one, individual creativity, they also looked at the impact of other personality traits, namely extroversion and neuroticism. That is the other of the big 5 that has been left out at Fichter's study, sorry. And what they found is, as you can see on the right side, extroversion has a positive impact on individual creativity, and by that on innovativeness, on entrepreneurial orientation, and on startup performance. But only up to a certain level. If the level of extroversion is too high, then the innovativeness suffers, the entrepreneurial orientation suffers, and by that the startup performance is limited as well. The same goes for neuroticism, and that is actually much more surprising, because neuroticism, how I understand it, is the opposite, the complete opposite of emotional stability and resilience, because you are nervous, you are cautious when you are a neuristic person. So again, it has a positive impact at first on individual creativity, but only up to a certain level. If it's too high, then the level of creativity drops, innovativeness drops, and by that, the startup's performance is suffering again. So again, I was wondering, what do actually investors think of this? And I asked them, what are the most important soft skills, social skills, professional skills? You don't have to distinguish them that nearly, as I did. But as you can see, they are all very closely together. And as you also can see is that openness, for example, which we know already from the survey of Fichter, doesn't play a big role, is considered to be the most important soft skill. While emotional stability, that is actually the one that is much more important for the startup performance, only plays a minor role. On the left side, you can see creativity and initiative are very important professional skills from the point of view of investors. I agree to that. But is it really necessary to be the best presenter or the best communicator? I doubt that, because you can just add another person who is good at presenting, but that person doesn't have to be very creative or innovative. But the core members of the founding team must be creative and innovative. So, and on the right side, there is another very interesting thing lying behind the bars here. Conscientiousness is considered to be the most important social skill on an aggregate level. But when you look at the nominal numbers, and you have to trust me here, it's actually the one with the most votes for being second most important soft skill. And the actually indicator, or the actually social skill with the highest number of first votes is the one below, the blue bar. It's low narcissism. So you might ask, or you might wonder, why low narcissism actually ranked third only. And it is mainly because low narcissism is the one indicator with the most number of, or the highest vote number of the most important social skill, and at the same time the one with the highest number of votes for the least important indicator in social skill. So what does it mean for our process, for our due diligence? That means it shows us that investors mainly focus on their intuition. And intuition, I wonder whether that is actually the best option we have for adding HR due diligence here. And so I was wondering, what is the solution? And the solution is, well, Moneyball may be the solution for your next dispute with your partner, what to watch next. It's a really great movie. I highly recommend to watch it for those who haven't already. But what is Moneyball mainly about? I don't want to spoil it too much, but Moneyball is mainly about the superiority of statistics and objective data analysis over intuition. I want to introduce to you an approach we use at recruitment, and this is so-called KAI approach. Translating into English, it's the CRY approach, which is a little bit better to remember. And the CRY approach is C for competences, R for requirements, and I for instruments. And how does it work? First of all, you need to select certain abilities and traits. You need to define these abilities and traits, and you need to evaluate the actual impact of abilities and traits. Then you can implement that, and you can define requirements founders must meet to be successful in a certain industry. And by adding all the requirements, you have you can call it optimal founder profile. And by that, you can compare high and low or average performers, and you can compare the founders who applied for your investment with the optimal profile. And lastly, there are instruments you need to measure the requirements with, and these are personality traits, personality tests, for example. But be aware, it's a self-assessment, so you only get the view of the founder on him or herself. So you need to add another perspective that might be structured interviews, for example. So you can add your own perspective and your own impression on the personality test. And actually, that is the approach I would recommend you to take into account when you do HR due diligence and personal due diligence with founders. Well, this is the literature I use, so feel free to ask me about anything you want to know. And yeah, I'm happy to answer some questions.
Thank you very much, Alex. Interesting, very interesting presentation and insights that we haven't had yet at Startup Night, so thanks a lot. We do have questions from the audience, actually, a couple ones. So one was, how can founders find out if they are a great match or not?
Well, first, of course, team evaluation is really difficult to do. So I recommend that both of them, or I don't know how many founders you are in your core team, do, for example, a certain personality tests and see whether on aggregate level you can fill out each other's weaknesses, for example.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a recommendation for a test to take, or?
For example, we use, that's actually very time intensive. We use the so-called BIP. Mm-hmm. It's a long German name, so I will send you a link if you want. It's the Bochumer Inventar of, let's keep it short, personality, if you want.
Okay. And the question was, can you recommend the ultimate checklist for due diligence, personal due diligence?
Can I recommend the ultimate? Let's see if I understand that correctly. By ultimate due diligence, you mean what kind of personality traits?
Well, like what should founders take into consideration, or what would you take into consideration when making a personnel due diligence?
As I said, it really depends on the actually personality traits, and it depends on the industry you're operating. And there are some indicators that are working for every industry. For example, resilience. I talked about that. But for example, the one study I talked about from Gao et al. it's about the creative industries. So obviously creativity plays a major role for being successful in creative industries, but not necessarily for other industries as well on this high level. So it really depends on the industry you're working in.
Okay. And another question was, until which company size do you believe personnel due diligence can be done in-house without help of headhunters or agency support?
That is an interesting question, because actually you might want to know an external perspective. So I really recommend to ask for external help there, because you always have another perspective, not just your own or the one coming from the results of the personality tests. For the team evaluation of the founding team, I would recommend not more than 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the maximum of people that you would like to
It's too difficult to evaluate the whole team if it's more than 4,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And would you recommend that if a team grows over time, that you do an evaluation with new hires, for example, as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was talking about the core team. As I said, you can add, for example, a really good presenter or salesperson. But the core team must be resilient and must be creative and innovative. Of course, you can add persons who are innovative, but then it's the question whether they have a high commitment to the startup.
Yeah. Another question, interesting that I think, how much money do you lose if you don't do a due diligence and have a bad hire? Is there an average or indicator for that?
Well, it's much. And certainly, as a headhunter, I would recommend that the costs for a headhunter are much less than the costs you actually have with the wrong hire. So we're talking about it depends on what kind of loan the guy or the person gets.
Yeah.
Could be 80,000, could be 100,000. He could make decisions that are really, really bad. So there is no average number here.
Did you do it when you had your startup before you exited? Did you do a personal due diligence?
Actually, my startup was just consisting of myself, and it was really a small startup. It was regionally limited to Shanghai, and no, I didn't. So, but as I said, I didn't have much investment. I didn't have any investment, to be honest. It was a friend and myself, and I was actually the one managing the whole startup. So, no.
Anything that you wanna add to give to our audience? Some things that you do at Celestos, for example.
Yeah, I really recommend to add instruments, objective instruments such as personality tests, to your hiring process, and to do structured interviews, not just interviews like let's see how it goes. Really add structured interviews, because only by that you will have to be you will be able, to compare the answers of your applicants very objectively.
And how do you support with that at Celestos? Do you support with stuff like that?
Yeah. Yes. Thanks for asking. We do that. Actually, that's our core business. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Alexander, for being here, for the presentation, for your time. Hope we see you again in the next years as well.
Hopefully, if you let me.
And with these words, I would finish our last session of the day. It's been almost 4 hours now that we're live, and we only have one more thing, and at 1:45 I would ask Jem back on the stage for our wrap-up, where we'll give you a short wrap-up of the day, a couple of facts and figures about Startup Night 2020, and so please stay tuned. Don't leave your screen now. Grab another drink, grab another snack, and then we'll see you back here at 1:45. And hello again. Hello to our last part of Startup Night 2020, the last 15 minutes of this first 100% digital edition of Startup Night. Before we continue, there was one question from the audience in the last session that we didn't answer, but it's super important, I guess, for everyone else who only tuned in at the very later time. So we are recording Startup Night 2020. At this point, it's also streaming live to YouTube, and it will be available there for everyone to rewatch and rewatch parts, rewatch specific sessions later on, and for you to, enjoy Startup Night as long as you want. It's the first time you can actually do this for an entire year, until there is another Startup Night. So there are even advantages to having digital events. So looking back at the last almost 4 hours, we had 5 super interesting sessions. So a major thanks first to all our speakers, to all people on the Zoom calls and per video tuning in, and obviously, of course, to you guys staying with us for such a long time on your screens. So there's always one thing that's the last about Startup Night. Well, normally there's a party afterwards, but this year we don't have that. But there's a wrap-up. And for the wrap-up, I'd like to ask the guy that was here on stage in the very beginning, the guy who's driving Startup Night. So please join me on stage, Jem, for our wrap-up. Yeah.
Thank you. I just took my mask off. So
it's good. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Stay safe,
of course.
Stay healthy. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you say?
I liked it. For me, it was quite insightful, and the diverse topics we had, and not diversity in terms of male and female. We had great topics here on stage. It was all around networking. Great session here. We had Mali with all her energy and the female approach and look to it. We had funding topics here, and in the sessions the same thing, right? So what I was really happy about was that we had over 1,500 tickets or people registering here, and we had 1,200 coming here today, which is actually quite an extraordinary number for being for free, first of all, right? And then staying with us. So the stage, for example, had an average 600 viewers at the time, the whole time, right?
Wow.
And the sessions, of course, usually to the diverse topics, they had, I would say, an average of between 100 and 200, depending on the topic, of course. Very successful was all the business angel topics. That was really, really impressive.
Is that one with Christoph Reke?
No, that one is actually still running. I think
running.
he's usually always taking his time. No, it was the first one with Jesse, right?
Ah.
So with the Business Angel Club. So that was the number we had. So Christoph's number we don't have yet, right? But from that perspective, that was for me really, really successful. Investitionsbank, they did a really good job there as well. Berlin Partner, they were really highly appreciated, and lots of questions. So this is what we wanted.
Yeah. So you look satisfied. You look happy. More happy than you.
No. I'm satisfied in terms of what we did here today, right? And what we achieved, and with all the partners and the whole team we have here. But it's not the real thing, right? It's live. We're missing the audience. So you lied actually to the audience when you said that there is no party. There will be one, but we will just here with us. Oh, social distancing, and we will wear masks, of course. We had hygiene concepts here, all organized by On the Rock, as they did our event again. But it's not the same thing, right? So we're all hoping that next year we can be live again.
But do you think that maybe in the future Startup Night will be a bit more of a hybrid model, or do you rather see like, we will stay an offline event and this is a one-time thing?
Well, we have always been digital, right? So we have always been streaming the main stage. We had different sessions, which afterwards were still available. But of course, it was like a side effect, right? Because not everyone was be able to join us. We asked them, they asked us, to record it, but that was not so much the focus. Today, the focus was more that not only the streaming and having it later available, like you said, but it's also like the interaction, right? So you could ask questions, and there were tons of questions, and we could only always ask a selection of the questions. So I hope you guys out there reach out to the people and continue to ask questions and reach out for the right people.
And one more question for 2020, what can we expect? 2021.
2021. Yeah. Again, like I said, so we hope to go back live again. We have been asked by our partners like Volkswagen and E.ON for example, right, to use their locations again. So it's not that they did not want to participate, but the whole digital format in the times they are in at the moment is not what they're supporting so much. So this is why we focused extremely on the ecosystem and how we could help the ecosystem, but Telecom, still continued to be part of the whole thing, so that's great. And this interactive part, which was also actually quite successful, was the Hoop Round session with SAP, where they said, like, how could you survive as a startup to work with corporates? That was also very interactive. That was really good. Well, this is what we continue, right? This is what we're doing. We're improving all the time. We're trying to get better. And we also have the survey, which is still open. So we have the first results also from the survey, which I'd like to share with you guys. But you still can continue that, or you have probably a few emails from us at the beginning of each session. So if you want to, please fill it out, 2 minutes. It will help us a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah. So normally the party would start now, or the music would start, but as we have no party here today, we would still like to say thank you, first of all, to everybody out there on the screens, to you guys, to the startups.
Yeah, much appreciated, guys. Yeah, much appreciated.
To all the startups fighting through COVID-19, keeping their businesses alive, innovating, pivoting, adjusting to the new conditions and environments. But also for the team behind this event. They are working in an industry that's been hit really, really hard by COVID-19, the event industry. So we want to say special thank you to all our team behind the scenes, because they've made this happen. And for that, we'd like to ask them all on stage, please, and for you to see them and say thank you. Thanks, right, team, come on. I'll put my mask on as well.
So,
doesn't work.
Come in, guys, come in. We're only a few, right? So, as you could see, that this is a small group of people who are doing this today. Take it as factor 10, I would say, when we do the live show and with the real event spaces. But we have here people from Deutsche Telecom supporting us, from Hubraum. We have on the rock here, of course, we have from the lights guys and technical guys, people here. Two people I really like to mention is Johannes, who's doing all our communication with journalists, PRs, but also communicating with you. It's his fault that you got so many emails. And we have Sven here, the guy who's doing all the technical stuff as a CTO for me and for you guys. So you have the website ready, the program ready, the interaction with you guys. So that's really important. And last but not least, I'd like to say thank you to you, Fabian.
Thank you very
much. Was a good job. Well done.
Thank you very
much.
And
thank you to all of you guys.
There are two more people we'd like to thank. They're sitting behind the camera, they're operating the stage, they're operating the cameras, they're operating the sound. So thank you to you guys as well. And thanks to you guys on the screens. We hope to see you again next year live and in person at Startup Night. And up till then, keep watching Startup Night and stream it as long as you want to. Thank you very much.
Feel free to leave comments here in this section. We leave it running a little bit, how you like Startup Night, and we'll reach out to you anyway again. But any kudos are always welcome.
And apart from that, stay safe, stay healthy, and in a month there's Christmas, so enjoy that as well. Thank you very much, guys.